low fives. Compare that to credit cards charging rates in the 20s or higher. American Financing can help you pay off that expensive debt, free up your cash flow, and keep your budget under control. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are saving customers an average of $800 a month. And if you get started today, you may be able to delay your next mortgage payment. Call American Financing today at 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000, or visit them online at americanfinancing.net. NMLS 182334, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. APR for rates in the 5 start at 6.327% for well-qualified buyers. Call 303-695-7000 for details about credit costs and terms.
Football is here, and Fitness Gallery's fall football sale is your playbook for a winning home gym. Save up to 50% off on select premium equipment. Visit any of our 7 stores from Denver to Fort Collins and score big before the sale ends.
Injured in an accident? Don't settle for empty promises. Postman Law delivers fast, easy, and effective results. Our attorneys have recovered over $3 billion for clients across the country. Founded by nationally recognized attorneys, we bring elite legal power to personal injury cases, fighting to get you the justice and compensation you deserve. Call 844-POSTMAN now for your free consultation. That's 844-POSTMAN.
Mike Evans here for Copperhead Plumbing. Your home doesn't have to flood before you know there's a problem. With the Mow and Flow Smart Water Shutoff System, you can monitor your home's water usage in real time right from your phone. You'll get notified the moment a leak starts. Trust Copperhead Plumbing for professional installation. Ask about installing a Mow and Flow system today.
Copperhead Plumbing, built to last. Call us once, you'll forget the past.
Copperhead Plumbing. They plumb different. They plumb custom.
Advent Health is Littleton's home for highly specialized, life-changing heart care. From preventive screenings to personalized treatment options, it's heartfelt care from expert hands. The Advent Health Heart and Vascular Institute is now open, ready to provide wholehearted care for your whole health.
Most business owners and decision makers work hard but stay frustrated because customers simply don't know they exist. Marketing isn't about being flashy. It's about making sure people understand how you solve their problem. Audio, video, and online campaigns put your message where your customers are already paying attention. And your friends at DenverSports, they specialize in connecting customers to businesses. The moment you get clear and show up consistently, growth follows. Don't stay the best kept secret in town. Visit DenverSports.com and click on the Advertise with Us button and start growing today.
Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies with national LTE coverage. Go to rapidradios.com and you'll get up to 60% off, free UPS shipping. Add code RADIO for an additional 5% off.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver. You're listening to Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Welcome to Denver Sports Tonight, taking a look at the biggest stories in Denver sports. From your online home for the best opinions and information on the Broncos, Nuggets, Avalanche, Rockies, and more. DenverSports.com.
And it is Denver Sports Tonight on this Wednesday night in the Mile High City. He's Dante Gomez. I'm Will Peterson. We will roll with you for the next hour. Broncos off today. Kind of strange, kind of rare. I was talking to our guy Andrew Mason, a couple other folks that have covered this team for a long time, and they normally go on a Wednesday, even after a Monday Night Football game, when they play the following Sunday. They like to keep that routine. Folks who listen to this station all the time will notice that on Wednesdays we hear from Sean Payton and Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton and Pat Surtain. Broncos didn't do that today. Did a player's day off. Sure, the coaches were in there watching film, but Sean Payton mixing the schedule up a little bit. We'll hear from all of them tomorrow as the Broncos get back to practice. Coordinators on Friday, and then they will be on a bird to Philadelphia, facing the Eagles on Sunday, and then right over across the Atlantic Ocean to face the New York Jets the following week. The Denver Broncos won't step foot on soil in Colorado for, I guess, 8-9 days, as this will be an extended road trip. Let's bring Dante into this conversation. First of all, Dante, no Greenbrier this year, no Greenbrier. Sean loves him some West Virginia. If folks don't remember that reference, that's what he always did with the Saints. They had training camp there a lot, and then last year the Broncos played Week 3 in Tampa Bay. He took them up to the Greenbrier. It poured. It rained like crazy. Remember they had the day where they practiced on the tennis courts, which was just wild. and then they flew to New York to face the Jets, and then came back to Denver. Well, this year, not going to get to do it because it just makes more sense to get to London. How much focus do you think the players have on the upcoming international road trip? Because let's be honest, they can say, we're only focused on the Eagles. We're only focused on the Eagles. What are they doing right now? They're packing for their longest road trip of the year by a mile. They got to get everything organized, ready, their business ready to go, to be out of town for 8, 9, 10 days. It just stinks to me that it's not a bad East Coast team. It's kind of a bummer. It's a really good East Coast team, defending champions, because it's just going to be human nature to start looking ahead to what's next versus obviously you're going to need your full focus and full effort to have a chance against Philly.
Yeah, and real quick, I think maybe they should have practiced out in the pouring rain when they're at the Greenbrier, because if you remember that game against the Jets, it dumped on them, and Bo Nix had some issues with the wet balls.
He couldn't grip it.
Exactly. Yeah, he had that one where he kind of like shot-putted it. But I mean, it's got to be on your mind. You're packing for almost a 2-week trip at that point, and you're probably arranging travel arrangements for your wife, your girlfriend, your kids, your extended family that's going to also be over there. So I'm sure there's a lot on their mind, and there's a bit of a difference between going on a day or two trip versus going you're not going to be back home for 10 days or 8 or 9 days. Are you sure they're not going to fit in any Greenbrier there in between after Philly? Maybe they don't leave until like Wednesday the following week or something like that.
I have been a little peek behind the curtain. I do know the schedule. They are headed to London pretty much right after they play the Eagles. And I get that. You're going, 7-8 hours forward in time. I know it's only 5 or 6 from the East Coast, but from your body clock in Denver, it's 7 or 8. I'm fine with them spending the whole week in London. They did that a few years ago now. Granted, that was Nathaniel Hackett. They beat Jacksonville out there. I think Hackett may have saved his job that day, which is crazy to think about because he'd only coached like 5 or 6 games as a head coach in the NFL. But I'm all good with it, man. I just... Look, I hope they beat the Eagles, and people are going to tell me kid gloves, participation trophies. I'm really just rooting for a close game because what happened last year when you played the elites on the East Coast? I'm thinking of the Baltimore Ravens. You got your tails kicked in, right? It just wasn't pretty at all. The last thing this football team needs is to go to Philly, lose 31-10, and then wonder, are we elite? Are we not elite? I want them to win. I think if everything goes perfectly right, they can win. But I just think from a morale standpoint, you don't want to face an Eagles team that just puts one on you, and then you have to go do this London thing. Let's keep this game close, keep it competitive, and see if they can finally finish one in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and even beyond keeping it competitive, they're not going to feel great after that game just physically because the Philadelphia Eagles play a very physical style of football. They're going to run the ball a lot. Their defense is going to hit hard. They're going to, make it very tough on you to move the ball offensively as well. So they're not going to be feeling well. And then to know that you're not going back home, getting that home cooking, that, home physical therapy and all, the workout stuff they get to do at the Broncos facility. Instead, they're going to have to do that out in England, which I'm sure is not their, typical setup, and they're not going to have maybe their typical, the trainers aren't going to be able to help as much as they typically are. So I think it's very important that you at least make it competitive, but a win would feel so much better for those guys if you're going to be out there, for a full, 8 days or whatnot too. So it is important that they're able to keep it competitive because you are right. Talking about that Baltimore game last year where there was just, after the first, let's call it the first half, the Broncos had zero chance in that game.
Yeah, Lamar had the drive right before half where he picked on a backup safety. I want to say it was Devon Key, and the Ravens went like 80 yards in a minute and a half, scored a touchdown, and you knew it was over.
And they could have won that game by more than they did.
Foot off the gas, for sure, late in the fourth quarter or even midway through the end of that football game. But you're right, after the Eagles, you got the Jets in London, then you got the Giants and Cowboys here. The Texans in Houston game doesn't look as intimidating as it once did, and then the Raiders here. So there is an opportunity for the Broncos when this is all said and done to be 6-3, 5-4, something like that. Of course, if you beat Philly, then you're sort of thinking about a big winning streak because you could honestly rattle off, including the Cincinnati game, you could rattle off 5 in a row. And we've seen this team under Sean Payton go through streaks, winning streaks in the middle of the season. They did it with Russell Wilson to somehow, some way get back in the playoff conversation before the debacle on Christmas Eve against the Patriots. And then they certainly did it last year after yet another slow start to make the postseason for the first time since 2015. You mentioned the Eagles. I mean, all is well in a sense that they're winning football games, but their star wide receiver, A.J. Brown, is having a field day on social media. I mean, this is the guy. Remember, they won the Super Bowl last year. And 2 days after they win it, he posts on Instagram, "This doesn't feel like I thought it would," because he didn't get the football enough or whatever. And then early in this season, A.J. Brown, I know a lot of our listeners have fantasy football teams that feature A.J. Brown, and they're disappointed in his production. And he's sending cryptic tweets on Sunday, even after a win against the Buccaneers. A.J. Brown was actually in the locker room today attempting to clarify those comments to the media. Pat Surtain was on a podcast where he said, "I know A.J. Brown's going to turn it around, but not this weekend," which, I love the banter. I love it wasn't made as some sort of bulletin board thing. It was a playful type thing of, yeah, A.J. Brown's not going to figure his season out on me. But I think this could go in one of two directions, right? You could either catch an Eagles team that, yes, again, they're winning football games, but you could catch them off guard. And you could go in there and steal a win. Because let's be honest, the Eagles aren't going to go 17-0. It's very rare a team goes undefeated in the NFL. Heck, it's very rare a team doesn't lose at least 3 games in the NFL in this day and age. And yes, they're 4-0, but you look at their 4 wins. They escaped the Cowboys. We all remember the home opener where Dallas played decently well and had a chance. They go into Arrowhead, beat the Chiefs by a field goal. They play the Rams at home. That was a super entertaining game. But what happened? They blocked a field goal at the buzzer. They could have lost. Rest in peace to all those bettors on that because it went the other way for a touchdown. And then last week, they almost blow a massive lead to Tampa Bay and only end up winning by 6 points. I think what I'm getting at here is you look at their margin of victory. It's been a one-score game in all 4. They have not blown anyone out of the water. There's 2 trains of thoughts on this. 1, the Eagles are vulnerable, and the Broncos can get them. Or 2, Philly needs a get-right game. Philly needs a game where A.J. Brown does catch 6 or 7 balls for 100-plus yards and a touchdown, where Jalen Hurts looks like the QB in the Super Bowl that can throw it all over the field, not just a tush-push merchant. How do you see it playing out? Are the Broncos going to be a quote-unquote get-right game for the Eagles? Or can the Broncos go into Philly and say, guys, this team could be 2-2, 1-3. They've had some bounces. They've had some key plays, but they're not winning games by 40 points. We can steal this football game. How do you look at it? Better chance for the Broncos to steal one or better chance for the Eagles to go, hey, we're the champs for a reason, and they flex on Denver?
So I definitely don't see the latter happening in terms of them getting flexed on. I wouldn't even consider it stealing a game if I'm the Broncos. Are we 100% sure the Broncos aren't the better team in this game?
Whoa, okay.
Philadelphia has not looked...
Let me take it in.
It's soaking in on you?
I mean, it's just a bold statement for you to make. They're the defending champs and they're 4-0. Are we sure the Broncos aren't the better team? If you polled the average NFL fan, 99.5% of them would say the Eagles are a better team than the Broncos. I didn't mean to cut you off. Continue. I want to hear the thought, but just on the surface, it caught me a little off guard.
Okay, I'm just not ruling that out. I think the Broncos could be the better team in this game, and I think they, again, don't even have to steal the game necessarily for them to win. The Eagles have not looked great, and it's almost like the Eagles and the Broncos are in like alternate universes of each other where all the bounces are going the Eagles' way so far this season, and then you look on the opposite side, and all the bounces aren't going the Broncos' way this season so far. So it very well could be the Eagles 2-2, and the Broncos are 4-0 going into this game. And then what would be people be saying about, who is the better team? Then it doesn't sound as silly when I say the Broncos could be the better team on Sunday.
Yeah, I never called you silly. You made a statement I think that the average NFL fan would disagree with at this point in time, considering that all the Eagles have done the last few seasons is win football games. And I get what you're saying, though, is that the style points have not been there for Philly thus far. They've made plays at crucial times, but they've also got a diva wide receiver who's sending tweets about how he's mad he's not getting the football. I think the team chemistry in Denver right now is probably stronger than it is with Philly.
Well, and that whole team has felt like a powder keg the past, let's call it 3 years at this point. Even last year, Nick Sirianni was on the hot seat going into week 5. And then, they rattle off a bunch of wins and, the old saying, winning cures all. Yeah, it's great. And the Eagles right now, 4-0, maybe it's a lot of nothing to do or nothing to see here, but there's something to see there. There's some sort of chemistry issues within that locker room with A.J. Brown. And if you listen to Colin Cowherd has had this theory for weeks now that the Eagles are going to trade A.J. Brown, that they don't need him. They don't need to be spending that kind of money on a guy who's going to produce the way he has, and they're still being able to win games. So, that could be a fracture in the locker. There's a lot of things in that locker room that could be fractures. And again, it looked like the Eagles were about to fall apart at the pieces the last 2 seasons before they go on and win the Super Bowl. So I don't know. I'm just not sold on Philadelphia. I think Saquon Barkley's great. Jalen Hurts' passing numbers this year have been terrible. A.J. Brown's numbers have been terrible this year. And I think if you can go in there and out-physical them and, take Saquon Barkley out of the game and, to be honest, more so take Jalen Hurts out of the running game, I give the Broncos a great chance to go in and win on Sunday.
All right, I love it. I love the optimism for sure. And the RamosLaw.com text line already off and running. Mikey in Denver says, I agree, Will. If we can win, that is great. But if we can keep the momentum of the season up and use this game as a measure of later in the year by competing, we will be in good shape. I see what Mikey's saying there, that even if you go in and you lose 28-27, no one's going to be coming in on Monday and going, uh-oh, Broncos are in trouble. They lost to the defending champs by a point. I just don't want that sort of deja vu feeling of, hey, it's the top-tier competition and Denver wasn't up for the test. You know a good way to get A.J. Brown traded? Pat Surtain just sticks on him like glue this weekend. It's what he did to Jamar Chase last week. We know PS2 got targeted a lot, picked on a lot by the Colts. The Chargers took some chances at him as well. But gosh, it would be so sweet because remember, it's an 11 o'clock start on Sunday, to be hanging out with your buddies 2:30, 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, and you see the tweet, A.J. Brown against Pat Surtain had 1 catch for 7 yards or whatever it would be. Not only would that send Philly into further disarray, but it would also mean that you took out one of their top playmakers and you had a chance to win the football game.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect game for Patrick Surtain to just throw him on an island, throw him on A.J. Brown. He hasn't really been that successful as it is. Now he's going up against the best corner in the NFL. You don't really have to key in on A.J. Brown that much, I don't think, unless, there's some weird gadget plays they're going to use him in, which we haven't really seen historically, Philadelphia use him that way. But I think you can kind of play him straight up with Surtain and take him out of this game, because it is going to be a very daunting task for this Broncos team to stop the run of Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts, I think he has, 60 yards in a couple games this year, 40 yards in another game running the ball. So to me, that is going to be the biggest key for the Broncos, is on broken plays, can you limit Jalen Hurts being able to scramble and run this ball?
All right, so 2 questions to arise from that comment. One, do you shadow A.J. Brown with Pat Surtain, or do you just keep Surtain on his side of the field? And if he matches up with Devontae Smith or somehow ends up on a Dallas Goedert of the world, that's fine. And then 2, are you spying Jalen Hurts? Because you're right, he's so deadly with his legs. I think I probably speak for all the Broncos country here. We all like Alex Singleton. He's a nice guy. We're rooting for him. He had 11 tackles last week against the Bengals. I know Mike Kliss reported he got a game ball in the locker room. All fine and dandy. But if Alex Singleton's trying to chase down Jalen Hurts, that's not a sight we're all going to want to see on our TVs, because we know how it's going to go. Jalen Hurts is going to outrun Alex Singleton. So I'll pose those 2 questions to you. Do you shadow Surtain on Brown? And do you find a spy that's not Alex Singleton on Jalen Hurts?
I would shadow PS2 on A.J. Brown just to, make sure they don't get A.J. Brown going. I think you want to keep the momentum, or lack thereof, of momentum for the Eagles and getting A.J. Brown the ball, and just kind of keep him a head case at this point, because like you referenced earlier in the show, he's been tweeting out stuff. I think in post game interviews, he's had some weird comments as far as his production on the field and everything too. So I would just kind of don't even let him get going. Throw PS2 on him. I could see the Broncos throwing out a lot of zone defense as well, because of the Jalen Hurts, being able to run the ball factor. And I don't think you can trust Alex Singleton to be able to spy Hurts and be successful that way.
No, I agree.
And without a Dre Greenlaw right now either for the Broncos, I think it's a big task for this Broncos linebacking group, who to me struggled even in week 1 against the Titans. You don't want to see your safeties and corners making as many tackles as they have throughout, the early parts of this season. So to me, the linebacking group has to step up. I just don't know if you can trust Alex Singleton to do that job by himself, and you might have to throw a little more zone coverage at this Eagles team.
I love all those suggestions. Hopefully Vance Joseph is sort of game planning that way, as clearly the Broncos coordinators will have a late night tonight getting it all figured out. The 5845 says you got to keep Jalen inside the pocket and not let Saquon go off for $150, and we will win, fellas. I agree. If Jalen doesn't hurt you with his legs and Saquon doesn't have one of those games where you're looking up going, ooh, there's a reason that dude's the best running back in the league, because he's looked okay to start this year, but he hasn't looked like dominant Saquon as he was last year. You can't let him have a get-right game, and you can't let Jalen sort of dictate that it's 3rd and 11, and all of a sudden he's turning that into a 17-yard game. Those will just be backbreakers.
Yeah, and Cecil had a great stat about that earlier, about how last year Saquon Barkley was like average yards before getting touched was 3 yards, and this year is like 1.5, so almost in half. And I think that has a lot to do with, not seeing the production that we saw from from Barkley last year compared to this year. So the offensive line hasn't been as dominant, clearly, from that stat, or at least to this point. That's still a very big offensive line, probably one of the bigger ones in the NFL. They might be able to, push around this Broncos D-line, who to me is more. The Broncos D-line, to me, specializes more in rushing the passer and not so much at stopping the run. So, but yeah, it's shown that the Eagles' offensive line this year is a little more vulnerable than we've seen in the past, and I think that's going to play a huge factor into not, letting Saquon go for $150, like the texter said.
The 0729 says Hufanga should spy Jalen Hurts. I don't hate it. Talanoa Hufanga, again, didn't really stand out against the Bengals. Luckily, he didn't need to, since his offense was completely inept. But Hufanga, to me, through 4 games, has been probably the Broncos' second best defensive player behind Nick Bonito. And I'm saying that with all due respect to Pat Surtain, who was great against Cincy, but did have a couple of rough games on the road. So I don't mind the idea. The 2153 says, so we haven't trailed in the fourth quarter for 4 games. How much time have the Eagles trailed in the fourth quarter of the season? That's actually from Mike. It's a good question, Mike. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but again, I know the Rams should have won, and they got a field goal blocked at the buzzer, but they were trailing when they had that kick. I think the point is that it's not like the Broncos have been involved in a laugher where they were on the wrong side of it. They were definitely involved in a laugher on Monday Night Football. Unfortunately, they were on the winning side against the Bengals. And as we flip it to the Broncos offense, of course, Vic Fangio looms for Philadelphia. His head coach here. We had a little fun with it last night with the cheeseburger at Elway's and all that, but we didn't really dive into the X's and O's. Vic's been a great defensive coordinator in this league for like 30-plus years. Obviously, he wasn't a fit as a head coach because the guy only cares about defense. He doesn't care about offense, but he has the weird situation in Miami where the players don't like him and everyone's like, Vic can't coach. Well, he goes to Philly and leads the Super Bowl defense, so clearly he can still coach. Here was Sean Payton earlier this week, just yesterday actually, on a conference call, talking about going against one of the best DCs in the league and our old friend Vic Fangio.
A lot's changed relative to teams, defenses, offenses, and Vic's one of those guys that's always stayed ahead of the curve. You're getting someone that is going to have a real good game plan, that's going to understand your strengths and weaknesses. You're going to have to be on point with the details, and that's one of his strengths. I mean, all the little things. So it's been a minute. I'm trying to think of, and again, there's more to this game than just our offense versus the Eagles defense. But there's a tremendous amount of respect on my part for him and what he's accomplished.
I mean, obviously, you heard Sean say there that Vic hasn't gotten stale at all. And for a guy who's 67 years old, that's actually pretty impressive. Sean's 61, Vic Fangio's 67. He's not stuck in his ways. He doesn't think he's still coaching in the NFL in the 90s. And clearly that was abundantly evident based on what he did to Patrick Mahomes down in New Orleans last year in the Super Bowl. Remember, the Eagles were up 40-6 in that football game, 34-0. I understand the final score was closer than that, but that was just peak Mahomes garbage time padding the stats. The championship had been won. We all knew the Eagles were going to have a parade, and Vic Fangio was a big reason why. It's very rare to see Mahomes struggle like that, and 2 of the most famous games Mahomes has struggled in have actually been in Super Bowls. We saw Tampa do it in the COVID Super Bowl, and then we saw the Eagles do it last year as well to get a ring. Broncos offense, man. I wrote about this today at DenverSports.com, but it was a baby step to stick with the run, to have that identity. Sean Payton, can he do it? Can he stick with the run? Can J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey combine for another 30 carries? Or do you worry that if all of a sudden you look up and it's 10-0 Philly, Bo's just going to throw the ball 45 times? That's my fear. If things don't go well fast at the start, this team has struggled. They've given up points to the opposing team on all 4 drives to open this season, that Sean's just going to abandon the run game. Can he stick with it? Can that be the identity? I think it's the million-dollar question, maybe if the Broncos win or lose.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a very tough test at keeping him, being able to stick with the run, because this Eagles defense is really good, and they're big up front. Jalen Carter, massive on the D-line. Zach Bond's probably one of the best linebackers in the NFL. You got, that huge payday in the offseason there. So I don't see the Broncos having a huge amount of success running the ball, but that doesn't mean they're going to be out of this game. I don't think this is going to be some high-scoring affair. I think it's going to be like a 23-20, a 20-17 kind of game. So, but I think the best opportunity for the Broncos to attack this Eagles defense is through the air, which is kind of lends itself to what Sean Payton already wants to do. Even though we've seen the success with the running game so far to this season, I just don't see that translating that well against this Eagles defense. And it's going to come down to me is, can Bo Nix complete these passes? Can he complete a couple of those deep shots he wants to take, against the Chargers that we didn't see or were not successful against the Chargers? So to me, it's going to be that. And can you attack them in that intermediate passing game, which we haven't really seen from Bo Nix at all this season?
Yeah, he can't miss. He certainly can't miss those opportunities. He had the 2 to Mims against the Chargers and the 1 to Sutton late. Those 3 plays all kind of seared in the brain of Broncos country. I don't know. It's a good question. The 6629 says, I like your optimism, but not a chance. Will the real Bo Nix get on the plane because he's not there yet? Okay. I understand Bo's first 4 games this year have not been quite as impressive as people wanted. But when the run game worked against Cincinnati, the passing game flourished as well. He threw for 326 yards. He had the 2 touchdowns passing and another 1 running. If Sean just early, like last year, Dante, he wrote run it with 3 exclamation points against the Chargers. And we all saw the shot on the broadcast. It went viral on the play sheet. Maybe he needs to write run it with 6 exclamation points, but maybe write it in a place that only he can see. Or don't have it on the outside of the play sheet, have it on the inside and never flip that thing over for television cameras to catch. I say it slightly in jest, but I also say it slightly seriously, because that message last year, that was to no one but himself. He wasn't writing run it so that the cameras would see it, or so that his bosses would see it, or so that his players would see it. He was writing run it as a memo to himself. If you make a grocery list, you're not doing that so mom and dad see it or husband or wife sees it. You're writing a grocery list so you go to the store and don't forget anything. If Sean's going to write run it again, he's writing that message to himself, and he needs to stick with it. Even if they are down 10-0 in my worst-case scenario, they can't just go out there and throw the ball 45 times with Bo Nix. I get what you're saying, that maybe he can expose an Eagles secondary when they're so big up front. But to me, still, if the split is something like 45 passes and 20 runs, the Broncos aren't leaving that city with a victory.
Yeah, and you're right. You got to run the ball to win in this league. I mean, there's a lot of correlating stats between, you run the ball the X amount of times and you're going to win, a good percentage of those kind of games. So you got to stick with it. I don't see it being terribly successful. And if it is successful, it's going to be, 4 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, 2 yards. It's going to be a grinded out kind of game for Dobbins and Harvey. So I hope they, bring their lunch pail. Do you see Dobbins or Harvey being as successful as, probably not as in terms of what we saw against the Bengals, but do you see them being successful on Sunday running the ball? Like, do you think either of them goes for, or let's call it combined 120 yards?
So here's the thing. I think they can be. I don't think they will be, because I don't think Sean's going to run the football. I think he's going to go back to passing it. He's going to think big-time opponent, big-time game, shootout-type vibes, and he's going to throw, because Sean can't help himself. Is it ego? A little bit. Is it stuck in his old ways? A little bit. Is it the fact that the Eagles' front 7 is so strong? Yeah. It's all those things combined. I love your optimism, or even just posing an optimistic question, but I can't sit here in good faith and tell you that we're going to come in on Monday and go, ooh, Dobbins and Harvey really tore it up. I think we're going to come in on Monday and go, wish he had handed the ball more to Dobbins and Harvey. That's just my gut instinct on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the stats here from their previous 2 games against the Rams and the Buccaneers here. And the Bucky Irving ran for 63 yards. His longest was 15. And then on the Kyron Williams, he ran for I forgot exactly. It was 80 yards, and his long was 16. So I don't see them having any breakout plays. So kind of what I was picturing of grind it out, give them, maybe Dobbins gets 20 carries kind of game. But I think that's what you're going to have to do.
I would love if Dobbins gets 20 carries, but Dante, I cannot see J.K. Dobbins getting 20 carries. I would love it. I hope he proves me wrong. I don't think we live in that world, at least not right now.
I just think that's what you're going to have to do. If you want to be successful running the ball, you're going to have to hand it off a lot of times. You're not going to be, Dobbins goes 10 carries for 100 yards. That's just not the way this game is going to go. You're going to have to give him a lot of opportunities, a lot of time of possession as well, because that's what the Eagles offense is going to do on the opposite side, and they're going to leave your defense out there for a while for those long sustained drives too. So I like the idea of running the ball. I just think it's going to be a difficult task and not the way that Sean Payton necessarily likes running the ball.
Yeah, and we all know the old TOP, time of possession, did not go Denver's way in that playoff game against the Bills. Something like 42 minutes for Buffalo, 18 minutes for the Broncos. Going to have to be much closer to 30-30 to leave Philadelphia with a win. All right, coming up next, there was a massive announcement from a forgotten organization in town today. Does it provide hope finally? We'll dive into it.
Stream Stokely and Evans with Mark Schlereth, Dover and Cecil, The Drive, and all your favorite shows on the Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan app. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan, DenverSports.com, and the Denver Sports app.
Hey guys, Mark Schlereth here from my friends at Xfinity, and the other day I'm over at a friend's place. He's pumped to watch football, but his setup, total mess. Lagging, buffering, switching between apps, trying to find a game. He claimed to be a big fan, but I feel like I was being fan-fished. See, if you call yourself a football fan, you gotta have Xfinity. It's the ultimate sports destination. I can find the best games and my favorite teams all in one place. And the way I watch, well, it's next level. It's the perfect fan flex. I've got all the action right in my living room, plus Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K, so clear it feels like I'm in the stadium. Sometimes I've got 4 games going on at once. Why? Because why not? On top of that, I get real-time notifications, live stats right on my TV. It's the best seat in the house every single time. Next game day, make sure that big fan isn't a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K cable TV box.
Whether it's kickoff, halftime, or the final drive, fuel your football season at Dickey's Barbecue Pits. Order the 2 Can Dine for $29.99 deal. 2 meat plates stacked with pit smoke flavor. Or go for the new Triple Play Combo. A classic sandwich, savory side, and a big yellow cup for just $12.99. No matter who you're rooting for, great barbecue is always a win. Dickey's Barbecue Pit, legit. Texas barbecue.
Looking to upgrade your kitchen, laundry room, or outdoor cooking area? Look no further than Mountain High Appliance. Family owned and operated for the past 31 years. I'm Brad Barnett, president of Mountain High Appliance. We have hundreds of appliances hooked up live for a true try-before-you-buy experience, plus professional delivery and installation. Our price match guarantee ensures you receive the best deal, and special financing options make your purchase affordable. When it's time for new appliances, think Mountain High Appliance.
Mountain High Appliance, your favorite appliance store.
Thank you.
This March, Wendy's is fueling the madness with amazing deals on their hamburgers made with fresh, never frozen beef.
Like a juicy Dave's single for $1 and a fresh $2 Dave's double with in-app offer.
It's such a good deal, we wrote a little ditty about it.
Get it for $1. Dave's single, order in the app. Dave's single, get it for $1. Choose wisely, choose Wendy's official hamburger March Madness.
Limited time offer. Participating U.S. Wendy's. See offer details and redeem at Wendy's app. Account registration required. Fresh beef available in contiguous U.S. and Alaska.
Okay, I have to tell you. I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest. The last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the...
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your...
windshield wipers. eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying. Just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay.
Things people love.
Dan Jacobs with Jacobs Law on 303 Law 4040. Just got a great result for a client. Sam had another attorney who couldn't get her more than $20,000, so we took over the case and just settled it for $85,000. Another client, Travis, is like a lot of people. He likes doing business with a handshake in his word, not looking to sue anyone, but when the insurance company was playing hardball and refusing to even pay his medical bills, he called 303 Law 4040 and said, Dan, I hate to bug you, but they just aren't being fair. We took over the case, told the insurance company we would see them at trial, and they immediately more than quadrupled their offer, which was just fine in Travis's book. The insurance companies don't play fair. They aren't going to do the right thing out of the goodness of their hearts, so you don't ever have to feel guilty when calling 303 Law 4040. If you've been injured, we'll make them pay what's fair. And as always, you always talk directly with me or my lovely wife, Kimberly. So save that number in your phone. You never know when you're going to need it. It's 303 Law 4040. That's 303 Law 4040.
Golf season is still in full swing with Aurora Golf. What's up, guys? It's Zach By here, and fall golf is one of the best times of year to play. The cooler temperatures, lush courses, and Rocky Mountain views are all reasons to keep teeing it up. For more info and to book a tee time, visit golfaurora.com.
Catch Telestrator Tuesday weekly on Stokely and Evans with Mark Schlereth, where Stink or Stoke dive into the past weekend's games with a coach's eye, using insights into what went right and wrong on critical plays. Telestrator Tuesdays, powered by Colorado Credit Union. Love where you live, love where you bank.
This segment on 104.3 The Fan, powered by Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic.
It's Denver Sports Tonight on Denver Sports Station 104.3 The Fan.
So the Colorado Rockies made a big-time announcement today. Oh, it's so Rockies, though. So Rockies. They are parting ways because Bill Schmidt has stepped down from his role as general manager. So Monfort. Just so Monfort, Dante. The guy's lost 100 games each of the last 3 years. 119 this year. They make all kinds of history, including the first minus 400 run differential team since God knows when. I mean, even the White Sox didn't go that bad. Run differential, pretty self-explanatory. It means not only do you lose, you get your butt kicked day in and day out. You're not losing a bunch of baseball games 4-3. You're losing 9-2. Losing 8-2. That's how the Rockies performed this year. But couldn't fire him. Can't be mean. Can't hurt any feelings. He's going to step down. I'm sorry. This is pro sports. And the Rockies were absolutely miserable under Bill Schmidt's guidance. Fans would have more respect for the announcement if they fired the guy. That's just my opinion.
Well, come on. You can't be that naive to not think that he was fired.
Then fire him in the press release.
But that single word matters that much to you on the press release?
Oh, absolutely. The Colorado Rockies have fired GM Bill Schmidt, would show that you care about winning baseball games. Step down is so kid gloves.
Well, I'm sure what happened was they told it, and this is my speculation, I guess, but I would assume what happened is they told him, hey, you're going to be fired, and then he's like, all right, well, I'll step down.
Lame.
There's no difference. He's not part of the organization, and that's what matters most, I think.
No, but this is what the Rockies always do. Walt Weiss was a terrible manager, didn't get fired, stepped down. Dan O'Dowd, his time as GM had run stale, didn't get fired, stepped down, resigned. Jeff Bridich, terrible GM, one of the worst trades in baseball history, the Nolan Arenado trade, didn't fire, get stepped down. Hey, Dick Monfort, the only guy he's ever fired is Clint Hurdle. Clint Hurdle went to a freaking World Series, and Dick fired him 18 months later.
Bud Black got fired.
It
was in the middle of the year. There's no, unless technically the phrasing was he stepped down, I guess, in the middle of the year. But I would be surprised if that was the case.
Yeah, you're right. He got fired during the fourth quarter of a Nuggets playoff game. So that one always kind of blends in a little funny. But in Dick's history, he doesn't fire people.
But it's all the same. They're not a part of the organization. They're not going to be given input. They're not going to be running the show anymore. So, and to me, that's what matters far more than the technical phrasing on the press release.
All right. Well, the press release is a big deal, regardless of whether or not we or you, the listener, cares about firing or stepping down, because the Rockies announced today that Bill Schmidt has stepped down from his role as GM. The Rockies will begin a search for a new head of baseball operations immediately. Get a nice fluffy-duffy quote from Schmidt. Get a nice fluffy-duffy quote from Dick. But then There's a quote from Walker Monfort near the bottom, very bottom actually, last paragraph of this press release. You'll remember Walker is Dick's son. Got a big fancy promotion, new title earlier this year. We all assume at some point Dick's going to step away from the day-to-day. Walker's going to be the controlling owner and in charge. I think we'd all rather they sell the team. Probably not going to happen, but at least Walker, I don't know Walker from Adam. Could be the nicest guy in the world. Could be a jerk. I just don't know him. Never met the guy, never talked to the guy. But he's not Dick, so at least that's a glimmer of hope. He's not his dad. Maybe he has his own views and values and set of principles when it comes to running a baseball team. And Walker Monfort says this, Dante. We are setting our sights on finding the right leader from outside our organization who can bring a fresh perspective to the Rockies, enhance our baseball operations with a new vision, innovation, and focus on both short and long-term success. This change delivers an opportunity to shape the future of our club and move forward into a new era of Rockies baseball. Oh, praise the baseball gods, praise the sports gods. Walker Monfort does something his father has refused to do over the last 30-plus years. They are going to find the right leader from outside the organization. How happy does that make you as someone who follows this team, as a Rockies fan, etc.? Because to me, it's music to my ears.
I think it's the way you have to go at this point. It's 2025. You've seen so much success across the league and teams doing it in wildly different fashions too. You know, the Rays do it with a very minimal budget. The Dodgers go out and spend a lot of money. The Dodgers and the Rays met in the World Series in 2020, and they've been very successful franchises in their own part. So, and then there's teams like the Guardians that go out and are kind of that middle level budget, but they go out and are in the playoffs nearly every year too. So there's so many different ways to go about it, and clearly what you've been doing down at Coors Field has not been working. So I love the fact that they're going outside for this, hopeful candidate, whoever's next here. We'll see. I know Drew was still a little skeptical. That he's like, oh, I'm going to wait until I see it before I, applaud Walker Monfort for his comments on it. So I think it's necessary. And again, just to get outside ideas. There's 30 other teams, or there's the rest of the league that is operating, and none of those teams are operating the same way either. So just to get those ideas in the building, I think is very important. Whether you end up hiring those people or you just interview them and get some ideas, and you end up hiring someone still outside of the organization. But I think you need to hear from the different candidates throughout throughout baseball.
Yeah, and you mentioned Drew Spivak, our executive producer, being skeptical. I'm actually on Drew's side here. I'm skeptical too, because just because you put in a press release that we're going to go outside, it'd be very Monfort to hire some man or woman we've never heard of. Oh, well, so-and-so's worked for the Rockies for the last 12 years, and after an exhaustive search, we decided that this was the best candidate. Like, until pen is to paper and we're at a press conference and there's someone coming in from Tampa or from St. Louis or from the East Coast or from the Dodgers or whoever, they haven't earned the benefit of the doubt for me to totally believe them. Now, I don't know Walker. I said that. I'll take him at his word that it's going to be outside. But if you announce it's going to be outside and then somehow you go internal, oh, baby, that's going to be pitchforks outside 20th and Blake. But you're right, man. It's 2025. It's time to do it this way. Because, Dante, I was there the day Dan O'Dowd resigned. I was working different place in town. It was 12 years ago. We get the press release. Dan O'Dowd stepped down. We're like, woohoo, let's go. Second sentence of the press release. And he will be replaced by Jeff Bridich, his assistant. We couldn't even have 15 seconds of happiness before they went internal. What happened when Bridich quit? Bill Schmidt, right away, new GM. Well, Bill has been with us since 96. Bill's the guy. I am so thankful that they parted ways, not fired, parted ways, Bill Schmidt at, let's call it 9:30 this morning. We're now on the air at 6:40, and they haven't hired a new GM. It's the longest GM search in Rockies history, and it's only been 9 hours. That, to me, is a good, positive sign moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And, while we're on the topic, I'll throw my hat in the ring. I think I would be a great GM for the Rockies.
I'd love to be the GM of the Rockies, for sure.
You could be my assistant GM. I got you, Will.
What's your experience, Dante?
I got a lot of experience in baseball locker rooms. I played a year of college baseball. I know a lot of people within baseball, which is already a start, it feels like, compared to the old Rockies.
Sure. No, I'm being serious. I'm giving you a chance to make your pitch here.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up around the game. I grew up around big leaguers, and yeah, I think I got a mind for the sport.
All right. I love your enthusiasm. I think here's the perfect world for you. That the Rockies hire someone that maybe you have connections with. You can get your foot in the door with the organization, sort of start to work your way up, and then see if an opportunity presents itself here or elsewhere. Not to burst bubbles or shatter dreams, but it's pretty rare someone goes from radio host / producer to GM of a baseball team.
Yeah, I think that's probably the more realistic approach. But I wasn't going for realistic. I was just going for, the movie experience.
Yes. Yeah, no, it could make a movie like The Rookie GM or something like that. The Disney movie that gets made in 20 years.
Maybe I could be the next press release of I'll be the assistant GM, and then in the same press release as the actual GM getting parting ways, they'll announce me as the next one.
You know what's funny is, so my buddy it kind of took that path. Like, got out of college in 2013 and took some minor league scouting job with the Tigers where he's making no money. He's got to sit there and watch below single A baseball. Not that that's not good baseball. I'm not trying to just disrespect minor league players, but you're talking about the bottom of the totem pole in terms of working for an organization. Well, he's now the video coordinator for the Houston Astros. And if you watch an Astros game, he's the guy who challenges the calls. He's got one of the top success rates in all of MLB. And I actually had dinner with him when the Astros were in town just a couple of months ago. And we sort of playfully said, what's the goal? What's the goal? And he never said it because he's a humble guy. But what was Eric Spoelstra for a long time? He was a video coordinator. Now he's one of the greatest coaches the NBA has right now. He's won championships with Miami. He's largely thought of a top 3 coach in the game right now. So maybe that's your path. Go get your challenges right. But yeah, my buddy Sam, I think he was 92% or something, which is 3rd or 4th in baseball. He's winning challenges, and he's winning challenges for a team that is a good team and obviously flamed out of the playoffs this year, but has had a lot of success in his career, and maybe one day he'll be a GM.
Yeah, maybe. And I've heard the Houston Astros video coordinator has a very expansive role down there in Houston.
Oh, easy. He wasn't banging any trash cans or anything. He was just challenging the calls. But kudos to the Rockies. Now follow through, Walker Monfort. Hire someone from outside the organization. Let's go to Cleveland coming up next, where Shedeur Sanders had an all-time bizarre press conference today. He mined his answers, and Rex Ryan may have been why? Give you details.
The streak is over. J.K. Dobbins ran all over the Bengals and became the first 100-yard rusher for the Broncos in nearly 40 games. With Dobbins and Harvey both gaining steam, has Denver found a new recipe for success on offense? Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
When I was in Iraq, our convoy was hit. It was bad. After I came home, I could still hear booms and see tracer fire. Makes it hard to be a good mom.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
I'm Naomi Mathis, Air Force veteran.
With the right support, more veterans can reach victories, great and small.
With help from DAV, I was able to begin to heal.
DAV provides a lifetime of support to veterans of every generation, helping more than 1 million veterans each year.
Today, I'm part of DAV. We're veterans helping veterans to get the benefits they've earned. And I give my veterans my all.
But there's more to be done and more victories to be won.
My victory is being able to be here for my children.
Naomi Mathis, thank you for your service. May your victories inspire many more. Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
More than a few of our patients have talked to me about their first time, but it's not the first time you're probably thinking about. It's the first time that erectile dysfunction ruined the moment. This is Jeff for the Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, and if you're over 50, it's likely you've had that first time yourself. But the good news is that if you're like most men, that first time can be the last time that ED impacts your sex life. At the Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, we're experts in treating ED. We've treated tens of thousands of men using protocols with success rates well over 90%. And those treatments have, in most cases, made sex great again for both them and their partners. You could even find that you're performing like you haven't in years. So if ED has been affecting your intimacy, it's time to make the last time that happens the last time that happens. For just $99, you'll receive blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 720-440-7900 or go to RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. We have 5 offices across the Front Range to serve you.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textingterms.us. Texting enrolls you for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply or play stop, opt out. Terms and conditions apply to the earnings promotion.
Do you have caregiving experience as a parent, teacher, nanny, coach, or in another similar role? Hop Skip Drive is looking for experienced caregivers who want to help students in their community by driving them to and from school. Earn up to $50 per ride with Hop Skip Drive's welcome promotion, all while helping your community. If you have your own vehicle that is no more than 10 years old, a clean driving record, and at least 5 years of caregiving experience, you could become a Hop Skip Drive care driver. Just text STUDENT to 323232 to get started right now. Hop Skip Drive gives you the flexibility to set your own schedule and earn competitive pay. It's simple. Drive in your free time and make a real difference for students right in your neighborhood. Don't wait. Text STUDENT to 323232 right now. Text STUDENT to 323232 and start earning up to $50 per ride during Hop Skip Drive's welcome promotion period. That's STUDENT to 323232. Text STUDENT to 323232 now.
Comcast Business can help turn your small business into a connected, secure, modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. How healthcare offices become the data-protecting caregivers that we all depend on. And how wealth management firms become cyber-securing guardians of your information. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, and Wi-Fi backup, your business can stay connected and get threat-ready with Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Now through November 16th, new Comcast Business customers can get started with 150 megabit internet plus security for $59.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, ask how to get a $500 prepaid card on a qualifying gig package. Call today. Restrictions apply. Requires enrollment in paperless billing and auto-pay with bank account. Early termination fee applies. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra.
Stay up to date on the Broncos and the latest news from around the league with our NFL insider James Palmer, exclusively on Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Mondays on The Rundown with Richie Carney, Tuesday afternoons on The Drive, and Friday mornings on Stokely and Evans with Mark Schlereth, all season long. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan, DenverSports.com, and the Denver Sports app. Denver Sports Station 104.3 The
Reminds me that Bill Schmidt was actually promoted to interim Rockies GM when Bridich resigned. And then the Rockies did a quote-unquote search and then just said, we're going to stick with Bill. I think kind of what I'm getting at here, I appreciate the clarification, but also, Dante, I think we're almost speaking into existence of, hey, let's hope Walker's true to his word going outside the organization. Well, when they gave Bill the job, they didn't really give him the job. They gave him the interim job to maybe sort of calm the fan base a little, and then gave him the job. The Rockies need to hire someone who has never collected a paycheck from the Colorado Rockies. That's how I'm going to say it, plain and simple. Would you agree with that line of thought that most fans will be happy if who's ever the new GM has never worked at 20th and Blake in their entire life?
I'm fine if they've worked there, but not in the last 5 years.
No, but it's all Dick. Because if he hires someone who worked there 6 years ago, it's just his friend who left and went somewhere else and came back.
Yeah, but that means they got experience elsewhere. I'm just not going to rule it. I'm not going to write them off immediately just because they were with the Mariners for the last 5 years, something like that.
Well, fortunately, the Rockies don't have a lot of people getting poached from their front office for other jobs around baseball. All right, got to fill you in on the Shedeur Sanders thing because this is weird. This is just flat out weird. He found out today that Dylan Gabriel is the new starter for the Cleveland Browns. So logically, the next question becomes, did the former CU Buff star Shedeur Sanders move up the depth chart? No, he did not. By all accounts and reports, Joe Flacco, who's been benched, is now the number 2 QB, and Shedeur stays as the number 3 QB. Not going to see the field soon in Cleveland. Well, he talks to reporters today, but doesn't actually talk to them. He mimes his entire press conference, does not say a word. This, of course, goes viral, goes nuts. What is Shedeur doing? He's embarrassing himself between the speeding tickets this summer, the ridiculous entrance to the first preseason game, all the above, now miming an interview rather than just getting in front of the microphone and saying, I'm going to continue to work hard. I wish Dylan the best. I'm here for him and Joe, and I hope to move up the depth chart soon. Easy. Done. Boom. Non-story. Doesn't do it. Goes viral. Makes headlines. About 3 hours later, Adam Schefter tweets the following. Shedeur Sanders' pantomiming today was in response to ESPN analyst Rex Ryan criticizing the rookie QB earlier this week. Wait, what? The plot twist of all plot twists? Shedeur didn't talk because he's got a bone to pick with former head coach in DC Rex Ryan? Here's what Rex Ryan said that apparently ticked Shedeur off.
An outstanding coach, all right? But why the hell isn't he putting Shedeur Sanders? We're all waiting to see this Shedeur Sanders be the guy or Gabriel, whatever. Something's missing. Something's missing with this kid. This kid talks. He runs his mouth like I could be a starting quarterback with his arms crossed like this. Get your ass in the front row and study and do all that. If I know, the whole league knows. Quit being an embarrassment that way. You got the talent to be the quarterback. You should be. You should be embarrassed that you're not the quarterback now.
We'll see if they make a change there.
So the quote, something's missing with this kid. He talks, runs his mouth like I could be a starting quarterback with his arms crossed like this. Get your bleep in the front row and study and do all that. Okay. Clearly he said he talks too much. So Shedeur Sanders says, well, I'm going to show you. I'm not going to talk at all. I'm going to mime my press conference. Dante, this is just flat out bizarre. And it's flat out bizarre that Shefty has to clarify this. I mean, clearly someone in the Sanders camp, whether it be Shedeur or his agent or Dion, texted Schefter and wanted the narrative to get out there because it looks so bizarre. Hey, he was just firing back at Rex Ryan. What do you make of this weirdness with Shedeur?
Yeah, I mean, really bizarre, the whole situation, but I mean, outside of the Rex Ryan aspect of it, I don't blame Shedeur. Everything he says, no matter what he says, people take it the wrong way. They create their own narratives off of it. So I get it. Hey, I'm going to stop talking about this kind of stuff because no matter what I say, he could go out and say, I'm just excited to be the backup and be like, oh, he doesn't want to be the starter. Or you could go the opposite and be like, oh, you know, I'm excited to compete for the starting job. It's like, oh, this guy doesn't know his place in the locker room. So no matter what he says, it's going to get taken wrong. I get it. Just stop talking at that point.
All right, I would have declined the interview request and not mimed, but your point is well taken. Super weird. Read all about it at DenverSports.com. For Dante and Will, it's playoff baseball coming up next on The Fan.
Changes are coming at 20th and Blake. The Rockies announced that Bill Schmidt is stepping down as general manager, and the team will begin an immediate search for a replacement. Will an external